Hey friends, this is Jennifer, and this is the Jennifer Allwood Show, the podcast for women who want to find freedom in both their life and in their business. I help women find the courage to fulfill their calling in life without sacrificing their faith or their family. In this show, I give you my very best life and business advice, plus bring you world-class guests and give you a healthy dose of Jesus every single time. So buckle in, my friend. I'm so excited you're here today. Hey friends, welcome back to the podcast. And we're going to talk about how courage is courageous. All right. So I can remember back when Ava was younger, and Ava was still home actually, and the boys were already in school. So we had 3 kids under the age of 6. And we used to do something called Moms in Touch in Kansas City. Let me know in the DMs on Instagram if you've ever did that. But we would take turns having prayer times every month or every week, praying for our children who were elementary school aged. Okay. So we would have it. Sometimes the Moms in Touch prayer group would be at my house. Sometimes it would be at other people's house. Sometimes we would literally walk the school grounds praying for our children. And we would always have prayer requests for each of our individual kids. Well, so I would have whatever prayer requests for Noah, whatever for Easton. Of course, Ari, we had not adopted yet. She wasn't even born yet. And whenever they would say, okay, what do you want us to pray for Ava? It started out kind of sort of being like for real. And then it kind of turned into a joke. And then it was like every single time I would say, we just need to keep Ava alive. And now, because I'm a little more mature, I probably know that should not have been the way I worded it. But, Ava's 14. So this would have been, a good decade ago. The reason that was always my prayer request for Ava is because Ava is wired so differently than what I am, and so differently than a lot of people. Ava has always had a love for things that are scary, a love for anything that is semi-dangerous. Ava has always, been dangling from the chandeliers. We've, referred to her as a feral cat, jokingly. It is my honor to raise her. It has also humbled me because, there's just a lot of prayers to keep her safe. Because here's the thing. Some of you ladies that are listening were also perhaps very precocious young children who had a propensity towards danger and to trying things that were scary and to, leaping off walls. And Ava used to swing back and forth off of trees, and she would do all these things that would make me hold my breath because I have always been wired for safety. And Ava is wired, more for danger. And so we would always pray just to keep Ava alive. I can remember when we were trying to decide the other day, I think she was just getting ready to turn 3, was the first time that she was ever tubing behind a boat in the Ozarks. She was bluff diving that same week. We were in Branson with some friends of ours, and I had to go then and jump off of the bluffs because when your 2-year-old is jumping from the bluffs, whether or not you are comfortable with water, you get your butt up on top of a bluff and you hold her hand and make sure she bubbles back up to the top, right? And so Ava has had the ability to definitely make me more brave. She's my kid that has wanted to be on roller coasters since the beginning of time. And she just has always loved, we would have scaffolding set up in a client's home, and my daughter would she would be able to go to the top of scaffolding. And, it would take me having to really talk myself through, fear of heights, especially after having children. But Ava was always unafraid. And here's some things that I want to say about that. When you're around people who are unafraid, a lot of times it will just rub off on you. It is contagious. Courage is contagious. And Ava was always and still is very courageous. It has the ability to definitely make you more brave. Ava is wired a lot like my best friend, Laura, who is the same way, who has skydived 17 times, who, she's done things both physically and otherwise. She was the first one to teach me how to shoot a gun. When she was 8 months pregnant, she's the one that would pick me up, and we would go doing donuts in the parking lots when we had snow and ice in Kansas City, in our early years of marriage. I'm literally, my daughter is and my best friend are the same people. Now, here's what I want to tell you about that, because you either know someone like this, you are someone like this, or you're raising someone like this. Okay. Both my best friend and my daughter have a Deborah spirit within them. And so Deborah in the Bible, it says that she was unafraid. she changed things for entire nations. And sometimes I think in the year 2022, we don't often know what to do with women that are wired in this way, because they can seem sometimes aggressive. They can seem, when they're growing up, as, wild. There's a long list of things that they can, assumptions that can be made. But what I know to be true is this, is when I'm around Laura or Ava, I mean, you're not going to see me standing up on the back of a bicycle seat anytime soon, but they do make me braver. The last roller coaster I rode was with Laura. We were at Kansas City at Worlds of Fun, something called the Mamba, which goes upside down. And I'm like weeping as we're going up the roller coaster. And all I could think of to myself is our life insurance up to date? Is our life insurance up to date? So here's what I want to talk to you about, because it is so fun, both, being friends with somebody who's very brave and also raising someone who's very brave. It also keeps me on my knees a whole lot. But here's what I want to tell you. I am wired completely different than my best friend and my daughter. And some of you are also. And perhaps like me, you are more wired for safety and stability and not taking chances on things. And I want you to know, I get that. What I want to talk about today is just kind of what this looks like when we are in business, okay? Because some of you have been in my coaching group for months, maybe even years. Some of you have been just wanting to get in my coaching group. Some of you have been kind of trying to grow a business. You're like kind of dipping your toe in, but you haven't really gone all in. Some of you, you've gotten your business to a certain point. You're kind of scared to make it any bigger. But I want to talk to you about some of the reasonings that are behind this, okay? Because what I know to be true is that even though I'm not necessarily wired for, risk taking, and I'm not wired for doing, things like parachuting or, bluff diving, even though I'm not wired for those things, I have been able to train myself to do things that I'm scared of in business. And I want you to know that you can as well. All right. What I see though is just such like this. One of the girls who used to work for me named it this, the spirit of hand wringing going on in women of business. Oh, I don't know. I'm scared of growing my audience. I'm scared of not growing. I'm scared of putting something out for sale. I'm scared of what people are going to think of me. I'm scared of raising my rates. And you're so scared and nervous. And for some of you, it may be because you're wired a lot like me and just wired for more safety. But for others of you, I think that there are perhaps some deeper reasons that I kind of want to dive into just a little bit. Okay. I was telling one of the girls that helps me create my podcast notes that while we were in Florida 2 weeks ago, and I'm watching Ava stand up on the back of her bicycle, doing tricks. And I was thinking, I need to do a podcast on this, because there are women here who are listening, who are like me, who were maybe raised in a home where you were not allowed to take risks. You were not allowed to do things that felt, scary, dangerous, risky, whatever. You went to then a traditional school, probably a public school setting, where you had to ask permission to do all the things. You want to use the restroom, you raise your hand. You want to get up and leave the classroom, you ask permission. And so if you were raised like me in a household like mine, or back in the 70s like I was, or in a public school system like you may have gotten conditioned to asking permission for everything. You couldn't just like go and do things as you wanted to, because there were, there's rules and there's time regulations, and you have parents that want you to do things a certain way. And so you get used to and conditioned as you're growing up to either ask permission or to just not do certain things. And then you end up becoming a grown-up, and you get an Instagram account, and you see all these people online who are telling you to do it afraid, punch fear in the face, do it anyway. Fear's not the boss of you. That's the name of my own book. And you get into a business group, and your business coach is telling you, just do it scared. Just do it afraid. And you literally cannot. And it's because you've been, some of you, conditioned all of your life to play it safe, to not take risks, and to stick with the things that make you have this perceived level of safety. And some of you might be going, okay, Jen, that's a hard leap going from like Ava riding on the back of her bike to why I can't, do scary things in business. No, it's not. Because see, what I know instinctively is that if you can condition your body to do things that are scary, you can also condition your mind. This is one of the reasons that I think God almost tricked me into doing my first triathlon for my 40th birthday as a woman who didn't know how to swim. I decided when I was 39, felt like God wanted me to do a triathlon for my 40th birthday. I'd never stuck my head underwater without plugging my nose. I got a swim coach when I was 39, right before my birthday. The Today Show sent out a crew of people to like do a whole segment on the Today Show on, was it ABC or NBC? For women who are turning 40 and doing, non-traditional things. I was learning how to swim and doing a triathlon, conditioning my body to do things that were very scary. It completely rolled over into doing things that were scary in my business. Because teaching yourself to do things that you're scared of, it's like a muscle. It can be conditioned and you have muscle memory. I actually did a podcast about like getting more done in less time. That talks about like how discipline in one area affects discipline in other areas. It's podcast episode number 268 if you want to go listen to that. But some of you have never been uncomfortable physically, and you've also never made yourself uncomfortable in your business, and you can't figure out why. And I'd love to tell you that it's all related. If you've never been allowed to do things without asking permission or to do things with some level of danger to them, let's just say danger, okay? Just because I can't think of another word. And you feel like you are stuck spiritually, mentally, physically in business, this could be why. Because you've never felt like you could do things without somebody saying it's okay. And you've always gone for the safe and you have this perceived level of safety. And here's what I want to encourage you. I want you to get around some people who are doing some things that don't look safe to you. Get around an Ava Allwood in your life who does things that just drive you crazy, but you look at her and you think, God, I pray she always has those guts. I pray that the world never takes that away from her. It makes me want to cry. Because I know that me and Jason and I, that was terrible English, allowing Ava to do things physically that maybe we aren't comfortable with, but of course, always teaching her. Like I would always teach Ava, if you're going to go up on the scaffolding, you always have like a way, don't ever get cocky and think that you're not above, falling. So what's going to be like your fall strategy? How can you make sure you don't get hurt? Like, I'm not talking about craziness. Okay. But I'm talking about allowing your children and yourself to do things and or forcing yourself to do things that are out of your comfort zone. Some of you cannot figure out why your business has not grown because you refuse to get uncomfortable. You refuse to get uncomfortable. And some of you need to be around people who are doing some of the things that you want to do and get you out of your comfort zone, because that type of courage, that's contagious. You get around Ava Allwood, she'll have you dangling from a chandelier. You get around my best friend, Laura, she's going to have your butt up on a mountaintop. She's going to have it on top of a, roller coaster. She's going to have you shooting a gun out a window with her pregnant belly 20 years ago. Some of you need to get around some of those people so that it will spark something in you to take some chances. Listen, if you have never taken a chance in business, don't be shocked that your business is stagnant. Don't be shocked that your sales aren't rolling in. Don't be shocked because you've never just had the courage to try something new, do something different, launch that thing finally. You're wanting somebody to give you permission. Listen, I give you permission. Maybe your parents never gave you permission growing up. I give you permission as long as it's like inside of the will of God. I encourage some of you to condition yourself to get out of your comfort zone, because I can tell you with 100% certainty, when you are growing and building and scaling a business, you have got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Friends, it's only perceived comfort anyway. You think that staying at that 9-to-5 job is actually safer. It's not. At any moment, they can come in and decide that they don't need you anymore. At any moment, they can come in and cut your hours and cut your pay. It is only perceived safety. Some of you got to heal some of that trauma. You always go for the safe. Some of you, instead of going for the thing that God's calling you to, it's only perceived safety, my friends. Now listen, is it safe for Ava Allwood to be standing on the back of a bicycle? Probably not. Am I also going to tell her not to? Probably not. Because as her mother, I see how scared I have been as a grown-up woman all of my life, scared to be alone, scared to not have anybody, to fall back on, scared that I'm going to lose everything that I've built, scared that I'm going to lose my family, scared that I'm going to lose my husband, scared that I'm going to, turn people away, scared that I'm going to offend clients, scared that I'm going to offend people on my Instagram, whatever. As a woman who wrote a book on fear, because I've had to work through a ton of them, I hope I never give my daughter, plant that seed of fear in her. I hope she has always got the guts to try things in the physical that will also give her the courage to try things in the spiritual, that will also give her the courage to try things in life that other people may look at as crazy, but also secretly wish that they had the guts to do. That's who I hope I'm raising. A girl who's got that Deborah spirit, who is unafraid. So, some of that stuff was not even in my notes today, but Lord, thank you for that. I'm telling you, friends, courage is contagious. And you either need to get around some women who are courageous and have some guts, or you need to become that woman who has some courage and some guts. And so if you're looking for a group of women, we're going to be opening up my mastermind shortly. You can go to creatorsnextlevel.com. These are all women who are pushing themselves in business. Some of them were not able to push themselves until they got there, because you get around enough women who are launching things, switching things up, going against the grain in their industry, coming out with new courses, doing things different. You see that enough, it does spark some ideas and some guts in you. And so I pray that this blessed you today. I pray that you'll get around some women who have something that you want. I guarantee you, every woman that is out there in business who looks like she's making it and whose business you aspire, to build yours, to model, she's forced herself to do things out of her comfort zone. I guarantee it. And if you have never been a woman who has forced yourself to do that, get around some women who do. You can get on my wait list at creatorsnextlevel.com. You can get into one of my other groups. You can go find another business coach. You can borrow my daughter for a day. No, I'm kidding. You can't. But get comfortable being uncomfortable. You cannot grow something you've never grown before. You cannot do something you've never done before. You cannot change generations of poverty and of small thinking and of generational curses without doing something you've never done before. So I hope this blesses you, my friends. It's my honor to be here today. If this blessed you, if you would share it on Instagram, tag me on the post so I can see it. Send this to a friend. I'd appreciate it so much. Until next week. Bless you guys. Bye-bye. Friend, thank you so much for listening to the podcast again this week. I'm so honored that you come back for every episode and that you share the Jennifer Allwood Show with your friends and family. Every time I see you guys post about it on Instagram or Facebook or something, it just makes me do a little happy. So thank you. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast if you never want to miss an episode. So you can go to Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or Spotify or any of the other podcasting places and subscribe each week so that every week you get the new episode when it releases. So just know that I love bringing you relevant content. I love bringing you great guests. And one of the ways you can help us here at Team Allwood is by leaving the podcast a review. So if you have just a second to do that, would you go over and leave a review for the Jennifer Allwood Show? Thank you again. You're amazing. I'm honored to be here. Until next week. Bye-bye.